again everyone, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another speed build video in The Sims 4. Happy Sunday, I hope you're all having the most amazing day ever so far and thank you so much for joining me here today. Let's address the elephant in the room. We know what we're going to say. My last speed build was also set in Henford-on-Bagley. It was also a farmhouse, but this one is different and let me tell you why. It's kind of different. So this one's like an older style farmhouse built specifically for a family. Now my previous speed build was for 6 Sims and ironically this one is as well. This is so funny. So this one's ever so slightly smaller and it's actually built, I believe, on the same size lot. We'll see. But I did fill it with this big pond. So I tried to utilise the space as best as I could. This is also for 6 Sims, but this is like a slightly older style UK family sort of countryside farmhouse. So that's why it's slightly different to my previous one. I will link that up in the top right hand corner for you now if you haven't seen that one already. And I will pop on the screen for you now the reference image that I used for this particular build. I found it on, I believe it was Google Images. Normally it's Pinterest. But I decided to just Google like old family farmhouses UK or something like that, and this one popped up and I was like, okay, this is kind of stunning. Although mine is slightly different, I definitely used the house shape and sort of where things were situated from the image, so it definitely helped with this particular build. I'm in love with how this turned out. I spoke in my last video about how much I love doing these cottage builds because being from the UK myself, I am obsessed with older style country farmhouses. I would love to live in one day. I spoke about this in my last build as well, but at the moment it's just not on the cards. They're very expensive in the UK, these farmhouses, so it's like it's not even on the cards right now. So I can live vicariously through The Sims for now. But we are currently working on the exterior of this build, and while I'm thinking about it, I will also link in the top right hand corner for you the playlist that I've put together for all of the cottages that I've built in Henford-on-Bagley since the release of Cottage Living. If you want to go and check them all out, they're all on there. They're on the homepage of my YouTube channel as well, so if you're not subscribed already, you'll be able to see all them as well. So, exterior of this house, it came together really easily because the reference image was just really easy to follow. As you can see, the house itself isn't particularly complex. It's relatively simple in the way that it's sort of laid out and like the shapes and things. What I found very challenging was trying to sort out the floor plan for the inside. The landscaping came fairly easily to me considering the complexity of it. I love landscaping these farmhouses and trying to make them look like they sort of belong in this world. And with them being sort of kind of like out in the wilderness, you've got to make sure that they don't stand out too much. They've got to blend in, otherwise they look kind of silly. So with this one here, I knew that I wanted to use the pond tool to create this huge pond out front of the house because the reference image had this sort of like, I think it had water in front of it, I'm not entirely sure. I'm sure it did, otherwise I probably wouldn't have even put this on here. So my other farmhouse that I did, it was definitely more like livestock based. This one just has like a chicken coop round back. The other one was definitely more like a working farmhouse. This one's probably a farmhouse that used to be working back in the day, and the family that live here now probably aren't that into farming, but they love living in the countryside. They like tending to their chickens and things like that, so they're not as heavily involved with the farming as maybe the family that lives in the other house just across the road because I built it on the other lot. So it'd be kind of nice to see like what different families you could create for each of these houses. But anyway, yeah, still working on the exterior here. It took me a little while to pull some items out from the debug menu. Now, I didn't film me doing the back of the house, like adding the windows and all the wisteria and things, because you can see me, I've done it here. So that would have added probably another 20 minutes onto the speed build, and I just thought, you guys, you've seen me do it at the front, you don't really need to see me do it at the back. I also didn't film me doing the bathroom upstairs, so if I haven't mentioned already, I don't think I have at this point. This house is a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom family house. So it looks bigger than it actually is. I feel once you get inside, you'll see exactly what I mean. The floor plan, I think I made the best of it. I did speak in my last speed build about how when you do these older English sort of cottage farmhouses, you can kind of get a bit weird with the floor plan because they're supposed to be a little bit awkward. But I would also like to point out that I put a bridge on this lot. I've never used this bridge from the debug menu from Cottage Living, but I think it worked so well with this particular house. I love it so much. You Sims can't walk over it or anything, but it's nice to imagine that they could. Can you imagine if they could? That would be so nice. But they can't, unfortunately. I put this like little broken down thing. I don't even know what that's called at this point. Like at the front, just to add a little bit of, I don't know, like rustic vibes to the house. I don't know. And then I also added some rocks to certain areas around the pond. I didn't outline the entire pond with rocks. I sort of spaced them out just to make it look a little bit more rustic, a little bit more natural. And so this is what we came up with. So I did do a little bit off camera because I spent a long time adding detailing to the outside of this house. So I included what I felt I needed to for you guys to get the idea as to where I was heading. But I didn't include it all because I didn't want you guys to have to sit through like a 45-minute speed build. Who has time for that? Especially on a Sunday evening. You guys are probably winding down for the night. Maybe you've got a hot chocolate and you want to go to bed. I don't know, but who has time for that? So you'll see me here pulling out these lovely hedges from the debug menu from Get Together. I love the landscaping items from debug from Get Together. They are probably one of the nicest things we have in game. I love them so much. I always use the trees and the hedges and the bushes. They're just amazing. So we are just outlining the path here because you Sims kind of have to walk around the pond to get to the house. Now the only thing that I encountered with this house was I moved a sim in here to playtest because I tend to do that with my houses, and for some reason the front door was set. You see these doors just on the right hand side here where the truck and the tractor is. For some reason that was set to the front door and I could not get my sim to set the doors here for the front doors. I've no idea why. Maybe it's just a bug at my end. Hopefully you guys will be able to change it when you guys play, but for some reason the front door is set to the like where the garage is, which doesn't really make much sense. But I suppose if it stays like that and it is a bug, it doesn't really matter. Like your Sims can still use the house and it doesn't really matter, so I don't know why I'm mentioning it. But yes, again, pulling out some items from the debug menu from Cottage Living as well, just to try and tie it in with the landscaping surrounding the property. But I love how big this pond is, and we also end up putting some ducks and swans in here. So you probably saw from the intro video, it's just very peaceful, it's very calm. This is definitely a house that I would like to live in. I'd probably make it a little bit more modern on the inside. It's very traditional on the inside, so when we get to the inside I'll explain that a little bit more. But I started this build yesterday and I came back to it today and I've pretty much non-stop been working on it since probably lunchtime. It's 7 p.m. now as I'm recording this voiceover, so it's taken me quite a while to get this house done, and it's just all the intricate details that I put into this house. Because I tend to do that with my cottages just to try and make them look a little bit more rustic, a little bit more sort of worn down. But I don't know where I was going with that. I stepped away for a little bit and I was like, quite like to add some sort of detailing around the back of the property. So I pulled out these two like sheds, I suppose you would call them, from the debug menu from Cottage Living, and I think they work really, really well. And we do end up finishing the sort of, you see this area here at the back where it looks a bit blank, we do end up finishing that at the end of the video, so please stick around so that you can see me doing that one. But currently we are working on the floor plan. Again, 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms. There's a bathroom downstairs, there's a bathroom upstairs, there's no bedrooms down here on the ground floor. So the first room we work on is the living room. I struggled for so long to pick out a rug to fit into this room. I don't know why some things just stump me. Like I have this idea in my head and then I just can't seem to find the right item. So it took me a little while to pick out what I wanted, but then I was like, oh, should we go pink, should we go white, like what should we do? Then I pulled out our favorite couches sofas. Why did I just call them couches? Oh my god. Sofas from the Cottage Living pack, just because they're going to fit in with a cottage / farmhouse, aren't they? So we end up pulling that and then pairing it with this rug from Base Game, along with the coffee table from Cats and Dogs. So this is not a pack restricted build. I have been promising you guys a Base Game only house or a pack restricted house. That is coming, don't you worry. It's just for some reason I've kind of lost momentum with the Base Game house that I'm working on. I do struggle with it sometimes because I spoil myself with the items that I use in my everyday builds, and I struggle sometimes with Base Game only, but that's a me problem, not a you problem. Just know that it is coming to the channel very, very shortly. So as I've been rambling on like I normally do, the living room is pretty much done. It's a really nice size. I love the fireplace. I think it works so well in this room, in this really dark chocolate brown swatch. It's just gorgeous. I love the really dark swatches that we went for with this house. I wanted to keep it really rustic, just very farmhouse-esque on the inside, and I think we pretty much nailed it with this. Even the kids' rooms upstairs, we really tone it down and keep it just very in keeping with the theme of the rest of the house. These curtains from Base Game, I think they're kind of hideous, but they kind of work in a sort of setting like this. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I've seen like the inside of some farmhouses. Some people like just completely rip them out and go really modern. Some people keep very traditional. I think this is much more traditional than it is modern. I don't think there's many modern sort of entities in this house at all. This is the kitchen. We use these Base Game counters, but we do end up changing the swatch of them slightly nearer the end of the kitchen because these ones were just too chestnutty coloured, so I end up going for the more richer brown tone just to sort of flow with the living room, because as you can see it's kind of open with the archways. I think probably the archways have been added by the family because British builds tend to be very closed off. They don't tend to be open plan by default unless you're building them from scratch. So especially with an older house like this, the archways probably wouldn't be there by like standard, you know. So I wanted to keep it like this because it just offers this sort of like nice flow between the two rooms, and then when you're doing your screenshots and things, it just looks beautiful because you can see all the items in the background from the other room. Probably TMI. I'm going into too much information here and probably just what I'm thinking. Anyway, so the kitchen is probably my favourite room in the entire house. I do really like the garage. I don't tend to include garages in builds, but this, and I will tell you why when we get onto that area of the house where my mind was when I was thinking about doing the garage, because I was like, well, maybe we could turn it into some bedrooms, and then I thought, no, we can't do that. Let's just do like a garage workshop area. Maybe the like parents that live here are really into like fixing up older cars and things like that. I don't really know. But you'll see. Anyway, the kitchen, yes, my favorite room in the entire house. I love these Base Game counters and how they work with this build. I think they just look absolutely amazing, and I'm really pleased with this. When I was taking the screenshots out, you know, like when you think I've outdone myself there, like, yes. I kind of thought that with the exterior of the property as well, because I did post a picture on my Twitter. I think I've probably at this point already listed my social medias. If you're ever unsure, you can see them all in the description box below. But I do tend to post behind the scenes shots, although I do on my community tab on YouTube as well. So if you subscribe to me, you will get notified if you turn on your notifications when I upload a video or when I post on the community tab, so that you guys can sort of see behind the scenes of what I'm working on. And just, yeah, I remember I uploaded this yesterday and you guys seem to really like this, so I sort of pushed myself to get this uploaded today because you guys seemed really excited about it. So I can't wait to see what kind of families you move in here. But at this point the kitchen is pretty much finished and we're just adding some finishing touches here. I do go back off camera to add a few more what just happened? A few more touches. Ooh. To be fair, we are 14 minutes in and that's the first time I've slipped up. I think I've done quite well there. I just add some finishing touches off camera because sometimes when I'm going through the house afterwards, I'll be like, ooh, I could add that there. And then there's no point me recording and going back in. It's very minor things. So anyway, the entrance of the house of this house, excuse me, I made the second mistake, is huge. So I decided to put a dining room table here. Now this would not be uncommon in a house like this, or at least I think so anyway. I'm trying to keep it really, really traditional. So because of the space, I was like, this family would have a dining room table. I know they would. And so this was the best space that I could think of for it. I think they would have such a nice time having Sunday lunches here and celebrating Christmas and things like that. So, I love the thought. I'd love to see you guys play in this house in winter. I did say this about my other speed build as well. My other farmhouse. I'm obsessed with Henford-on-Bagley in the winter. I'm obsessed. Given the fact that we're currently going into spring right now, I was like, I don't really feel the need to be doing winter builds, but do I enjoy doing them? Yes, absolutely I do. There's nothing stopping me doing them, but I just feel like it's probably not the right time of year. Anyway, this is the garage. You can see here we use these doors from, I think they're from the industrial kit that we got a couple of months ago now. You can replace them if you want to. I believe there are very similar doors with cats and dogs, if I'm not mistaken. Please correct me if I'm wrong. But yes, I thought they worked really, really well with the build, because on the reference image I also noticed that there were very similar doors, so I just kind of replicated that with these. So this is why I couldn't really turn this into a room. This is why I turned it into a garage. And like I said, I never do this in my builds, so this is new for me. It definitely took me a little while to figure out what I wanted to put in here, and we do end up changing this car from this one because it's very, this car looks very American. We do have cars that look like this in the UK, but this one just looks a little bit too like American for me. I don't know if that makes any sense whatsoever, and I'm not meaning any offense by it, by the way. So we end up like taking one of the like rundown cars from the debug menu from Strangerville, because like I was saying, maybe the dad that lives here and the mum, maybe they're into like fixing up cars and things. So there's like a broken down car in the garage that they probably had there for years. And they keep saying, yeah, we'll do that next week, we'll do that next week, and they've just never got around to doing it. So I kind of like that, but we do change that in just a moment. But you will see me here just adding some clutter items, just things that you would find in a garage. Like funnily enough, we've just had our garage converted in the house that we live in, and we've kind of made it into kind of like a man cave / like dog room for our dogs. I know, why? I mean, they're worth it, I suppose. But we've turned it into like a snug, I suppose you would call it, because there's no window. But we've turned it into a little snug, and we're just over the moon with it. Anyway, so you will see here that we've already added the broken down car, and then I just found some more debug items from the cottage living pack, and I was like, let's just pull all these out and we can just put some bits here and there. And the beauty is with me is that like I'll just find all these items as I'm going along, and I'll just find a place for them, which is probably why my builds end up being so cluttered. Because I just pull them out and be like, well, that can go there, and I can use that there, and oh, we could just put that there. And yeah, I've got a problem. I've definitely got a problem with clutter. Anyway, we have moved on to the upstairs. This is where the 3 bedrooms are, along with the additional like main bathroom, I suppose you could call it. Both bathrooms are full bathrooms, so the one downstairs has like a shower bath combination, and then the one upstairs has just the shower, because it's a very awkward shape, as you can see here, but we just end up tucking the shower away in that little area there, which works quite well. This is the master bedroom. I chose this as the master bedroom because it's square, it's easy. I struggle with master bedrooms, so it's much easier for me to do them if they are this shape. The other rooms are for 4 kids, so like you've got 2 in one and then 2 in another. Depending on the dynamic of your family, you can just change it up however you want to. I was just trying to fit as many Sims in here as I possibly could, because I get the feeling that people play with slightly larger families. Please correct me if I'm wrong. I'd love to know. I just try to do as many different things as possible with each of my houses. I think my other one was 4 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms. I believe. This one's 3 bed, 2 bath. I can't exactly remember. It's been like a week since I did that house, so I'm lucky I remember my own name sometimes. Anyway, the master bedroom's actually really, really nice. I really like how that one came out. But we are moving on to this bedroom here, which has like a really sort of like soft pastel-y pink sort of vibe, and I really, really like this. I initially struggled with which beds to use, where to put them, which rug to put down, the usual. Sometimes it takes me a little while to figure out what I want to do, so I will tend to keep in my builds like the process that I go through in order to get the colour scheme that I want. So we end up settling on these beds here. I can't for the life of me remember which pack they are from, so please don't ask me. I'm so sorry, I'm useless with things like that. I know the wallpaper is from Cottage Living, and I wanted to tie in like the pink with the blue and then pops of like cream, and it's so nice and warm and cozy in here, and it's definitely toned back compared to a lot of my other kids' rooms where I just like go in and just put colours here, there and everywhere and clutter, and I was just keeping in mind that I was doing a family farmhouse in the UK, and it wouldn't necessarily look how it would do in like a suburban house like that would be based in America kind of thing, you know. So I was trying to keep that in my mind while I was doing this. But there's not much going on here, to be honest. It's a really good sized room, but it's a very odd shape, because as you can see from the outside of the house, it's a very awkward house shape. So me trying to work out the floor plan was a little bit difficult. But as I said at the beginning, sometimes, especially with cottages or farmhouses in the UK, you can kind of roll with it because the floor plans aren't always very eloquent. Like I always beat myself up far too much, and I just think, well, you know, you're just making the best of it. Let's be honest. Let's be honest. So this room is pretty much done, and then we do move on to the twin room here. There's much more of like a blue theme going on here, and I would imagine maybe there's like teenagers in this room rather than children. But then I've just realised I do put like this teddy in the corner, so maybe that's not right. I really don't know. I had in my head 4 kids, but looking back now, I probably should have catered this more towards teens. But it really wouldn't take much to make it look a little bit more grown up if you wanted to. Anyway, a lot of blue going on in here. There's so many windows in this room as well, because again, with the outside of it, I was just trying to work with what I had. I didn't want to remove any windows because I really liked how they looked on the outside, so I just made the best of it. Really, really easy room to put together. There's not much going on. There's not too much clutter. There's just, yeah, it just came really, really easily. After I'd done the other 2 bedrooms, this one was pretty much a breeze. So we just end up adding some clutter items here, making it look a little bit more lived in. And then now we move on to the final part of the video, which we're just back on the outside of the house, but we're currently working on the back garden. It's not really a back garden. The entire property is just surrounded by land, so it's not really a garden as such. So we do add this chicken coop here, because at least, you know, because I class this as like an old family farmhouse, so your Sims do have chickens. If you want to include a llama or a cow, then by all means put one down here. I probably could have done that, I just decided not to. I decided to put these planter boxes here instead, which I thought were a little bit more fitting. And then we just go in and do some landscaping, add some debug items for a little bit of clutter and a little bit of detail. But that is pretty much it. So you can get this house from the gallery right now. My origin ID is RachelPedd. Tray files, as always, are linked down in the description box below. You can get them completely free from Sim File Share. But thank you so much everyone for joining me here today. You all take care, and I will see you next time I post a video. Bye!